Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Everyone, welcome to our second presentation on Surah Yusuf. Today, I will cover verses 8 to 20 and give their detailed explanation. The slides have already been shared. These are the references, and this is our contact in case of any query or comment or question. And this is for those who have not attended this presentation. Introduction to today's presentation. We will continue Surah Yusuf, verses 8 to 20 in this presentation. We covered verses 1 to 7 in our previous presentation. The salient points are noted below. In order to understand the Quran, human intellect needs to use intellect to expand its own expanse. Though the account of Yusuf is covered as part of history elsewhere, what is being revealed here is unknown to human intellect. This is specific to Allah's Wahi. So generally the story is known in other religions as well, like Judaism and Christianity. And even in Islam, where historically this thing has been covered. But what is specifically said in the Quran is totally different. And those aspects we are looking at through our presentations. The dream by Yusuf referred to his intense desire at a very early age in his life to acquire great eminence. Yaqub interpreted this dream that pointed to Yusuf's potentials, which would be realized in the light of the guidance of Allah's Wahi. We should keep it in mind that Yaqub himself was the messenger of Allah as well, and he was in possession of Wahi. The situation of Yusuf's family was such that he could not have gained opportunities to develop himself in order to acquire that higher eminence and loftiness which he intensely desired and aimed. Yaqub also strongly desired that Yusuf should get an opportunity to develop his potentials, but he saw that his other sons may be a hurdle in this path for Yusuf. The Quran invites us to reflect deeply on this account to seek answers to questions that arise in our minds as we proceed through this unraveling of the functioning of the law of requital and the law of respite. So we should keep it in mind that the law of requital and the law of respite is working throughout this, the dynamic of this account. We should keep that in mind. Now verses 8 to 10, I will just go through the verse 8. Is qalu la Yusufu wa akhuhu ahabbu ila abina minna wa nahnu usbatun inna abana la fi zalalin mubin. So over here the story starts that the brothers of Yusuf used to say to each other that it is a strange thing that our father as compared to us loves Yusuf and his real brother more. Though we are a greater number, and as a consequence of this we also have power. Surely in this matter, father is committing a big error of judgment. So they thought that they are in majority and they are stronger as well. They are running the household affairs, so their father should be inclined towards them rather than towards Yusuf and his brother. Second verse is, Aqtulu Yusufa avitrahuhu ardan yakhlu lakum wajhu abikum wa takunu min ba'dihi qawmas salihin. So they held a mutual consultation that the solution for this problem is that Yusuf be killed at a far off place so that after that our father's whole attention remains directed towards us and all our affairs are put to rights, that is, we become Salihin. Now, this point of Salihin I will explain in a slide later. The point over here is that there is a gap between the two verses here, that they got together and of course they spent some time over it. And they thought that something has to be done regarding this situation where father is too much inclined towards Yusuf. Qala qailum minhum la taqtulu Yusufa walquhu fi ghayabatil jubbe yaltaqithu ba'du sayyarate in kuntum fa'ilin. So in verse 9th, they thought that they should maybe kill him. But over here, what happens is that one of them among the brothers, he disagrees. And one of them said, do not kill Yusuf. If you must do something against him, then throw him in the depths of a blind well. Some caravan passing by will take him out, and in this way your objective will be achieved. I've noted down some points here, a quick appraisal of these verses. These brothers belong to Hizb Shaitan, and we should view their thoughts, planning, and actions with this in mind. They are determined to get rid of Yusuf. So that becomes very clear that they want to either kill him, but killing is not an option now because there is a difference of opinion within the brothers. Using their choice and intent, they plotted ways to carry out their plan. They had two options were before them. The first was to kill him. However, one brother interferes in this plan by disagreeing, and this means that the other brothers cannot carry out this plan. The second option was to throw him into a well on the path of caravans, and hopefully he will be taken away as a slave, and thus will no longer remain a part of the family. Because they don't want Yusuf to come back. So they want to dispose him off in such a way that that is the end of Yusuf as far as this family is concerned. A noteworthy point here is that interference and stepping in to disagree does help to change the course of events. For example, similarly, a Mu'min man in the court of Pharaoh prevented Pharaoh from killing, though the brother of Yusuf who dissented was not a Mu'min. So this brother of Yusuf, by his dissenting with his other brothers, their plan weakened and they gave up killing Yusuf, rather they now made it. So over here, the point is that since he disagreed and they did not want a dissension within among themselves. And this is where, if you remember, Quran says that Mu'mineen should also come together and unite their hearts and differences should disappear. And because that provides strength. So if Hizb Shaitan can come together, Hizbullah must also come together to remove their differences and strengthen their hearts, because that's the way word works. Now, next is being in a position of power. They wish to use this against their father and Yusuf in order to get what they want and not be countered in pursuit of their desires. And this is what the Shaitan and Iblis does. They are totally convinced that what they are doing is the right path. They declare their father to be clearly misguided. So they have apprehensions or wrong views about their father because they think that the father is not inclined towards them despite they being strong. And this is causing the problem. We need to understand the intensity of these negative human emotions which arise and cause problems in the world, especially when these have the full weight of power behind them in order to execute them. Motivation for wars which are initiated by powerful nations in the world, the leaders are also men to destroy the lives of fellow equal beings, is driven by self-interest. So we see this manifestation all around us in the world in which we live. So Yusuf's brothers were not very different from these nations. They were doing what nations do at a larger scale. Yusuf's brothers and their actions are a representation of these powerful nations. Hence, we need to remove any false positive views which we may hold and become Aziz in every respect, and also to become Hakim. The moral for us is that while this dynamics of this story unfolds in front of us, we should look at the world around us and relate to it, the events which are taking place around us. So that is what the Quran is telling us. Because when this verse was revealed to Rasulullah, it did help Rasulullah and Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen at that time. Now, next one is elaboration of Salihin. So this point needs elaboration, and it's given in detail in the book, Mutalib al-Furqan, volume 7. The word Salihin at the end of the verse merits attention. Amongst us, the translation of Salihin is viewed as being the pious people of Allah, and Amal Saleh as being righteous deeds. If this is taken to be the meaning of this verse, that they said that Yusuf should be separated from the father so that after this, the full attention of the father remains focused towards us, and in this way we become honorable people, then this does not make sense. It is very obvious, because that is not going to create any goodwill between them and their father. They have taken away the dearest son of their father, and now how are their matters going to be on a good footing? Not at all. But what they are saying over here is what they had said was that the current situation is such that the full attention of the father remains focused on Yusuf. This must be in relation to the family affairs, because of which our affairs remain unsettled. If this hurdle is removed, then our circumstances will improve. So they are not interested. It doesn't look that they are interested in getting father's favors, because they are already in a position of power. And this thing will become evidently clear as we proceed through this account in the later verses. Sulah, Asla, Saliha, etc. mean the betterment and rectification of circumstances. The meaning of Amal Saleh is those deeds which after acquiring Iman we do, and such a system in which both the human self becomes reformed and harmony and balance are created within society. The asla of both the individual and society ensues. So it is quite different. So over here, when Quran says they said Salihin, and we will see people around us that who do criminal acts, sometimes they say, oh, this is the only one I will do, and after this I will try to do things in a better way. And I've come across during my own professional career such people who do wrong and justify it that, oh, later on I will start doing good as well. Now, next one is verses 11 to 3. Sons enticing their father to send Yusuf with them, and this is part of the execution of their plan. So the story moves a step further. Kalu ya bana malaka la tamanna ala Yusufa wa inna lahu la nasihun. Arsilhu maana gadan yarta wa yal'ab inna lahu la hafizun. So they all preferred this scheme. So they agreed on this scheme that not to kill Yusuf, but to get rid of him by throwing him or dropping him into some well. And they coming to their father, they said, oh, father, what is this that in the matter of Yusuf, you do not place trust in us and you do not allow him to go here and there with us. Though we are his well-wishers from the heart, we are going out tomorrow, send him along with us also so that he should eat and drink and play for amusement. We all will protect him. So while they are harboring this ill will towards Yusuf, now they are trying to convince their father to send Yusuf with them while they go out in their normal business. Qala inni la yahzununi an tazhabu bihi wa akhafu an yakulahu zebo wa antum anhu ghafilun. The father replied, it is not a matter of distrust. To my mind, fear of the risk is that you take him with you into the forest for a walk and to play. And if you become distracted, even momentarily, that a wolf might eat him up. So Yaqub was obviously apprehensive and was not very comfortable to send Yusuf with them. And he knew that they do not harbor goodwill towards him as well. So see here the words la yahzununi and related to wala khawfun alayhim wala hum yahzanun, where Quran says that if you don't follow Wahi, then you will have huzn and you will have khawf. So this is the situation now materializing as far as this account is concerned. Now what I've done is I've put down some comments over here and we can always probe it further. Yusuf apparently has not gone out with the brothers previously, or something transpired in between whereby Yusuf stopped sending him away with them. So it looks that Yusuf did not go with them normally. So over here, the situation is that they are insisting that he should come along because they have to act on their plan. The Quran has not noted any opinion of Yusuf during this dialogue. So Quran is silent on that if Yusuf also had some opinion, because he may be watching all this unfolding in front of him. He seems to have left it to his father to come to an arrangement with the brothers. The father is reluctant to send Yusuf with them due to concerns about safety over and above the suspicion of malpractice on the part of his sons. Though he does not, only thing he says is that if you are careless or you might get busy somewhere and some wolf might hurt him or even eat him up. Incidents of wolves attacking sheep used to occur in those days, and the father expressed his fear that his grown-up sons may become careless. So this can be taken as seriously as well. This could be based on his own observations of their behavior within the family setup towards Yusuf and his younger brother. Note the climate of huzn or grief and khawf, fear, which exists in that environment being experienced by Yaqub as noted in verse 12. 13. Yaqub summed up the general competence and consciousness of his sons by stating Ghafilun. So he was not fully convinced of their being very conscientious sons. He expresses his doubt and suspicion based on his own experience. Possibly Yusuf may be witnessing this drama unfolding in front of him, children, even at a young age, are quite perceptive about events around them. So the lesson for us to apply is that we have to be very conscientious and promote that within the children and within the family as well, so that children do not resort to these kind of thoughts. And also justice should be done, and people should be instructed or advised about the law of requital and law of respite. Next one is the sons convince Yaqub, and Yusuf accompanies them to the forest. قالوا لئن أكله الذئب ونحن عصبة إنا إذا لخاسرون. The sons then replied to father's fear, "O father, you are strange. If he is eaten up by a wolf, despite the presence of such a great number of us, then what is the point of our existence? This will then mean that we are absolutely useless." Now imagine, so the situation is that sons are putting pressure on father and saying that you should send him with us, and he is reluctant to send him away with them. And as a situation is developing, they had to now argue with him, because unless Yusuf goes with them, they cannot act on their plan. So they say that we are so powerful, why are you doubting our strength? We will not let it happen. فَلَمَّا ذَهَبُوا بِهِ أَجْمَعُوا أَنْ يَجْعَلُوهُ فِي غِيَابَةِ الْجُبِّ وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ لَا تُنَبِّئُ أَنَّهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِمْ هَذَا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. So Quran over here now omits a lot of links in between, which we have to figure out ourselves. In its own style, it now goes to the next stage. Hence, they took him with them and all agreed on this, that he should be dropped into a deep well. So now the situation arises. At precisely that time when they were throwing Yusuf into the well, we informed him via Wahi, that is, Allah says that we informed Yusuf via Wahi, do not grieve, that you will remain safe and secure, and after this, such a day will come that you will tell them what they did with you, and they will not be able to understand how you survived and reached this stature. This is something which needs a lot of profound reflection on our part, because over here Quran says, "Wa'awhayna." So Allah sent a wahi to him, that is reassuring Yusuf that what these guys are doing, your brothers are doing, they don't know at this stage, la yasharun, they don't know that this is going to come back and haunt them at some later stage. But now the situation is that there are years and years of separation from father and family ahead of Yusuf, and he has to be reassured by Allah that your path is right, you are in Sirat-e-Mustaqim, and things will even out for you. And that is how we should look at this story as it unfolds itself. Now Yusuf handed over to the next stage of his life. I thought this is the second stage now. He has left the family. They have taken him out of the family, and now he is handed over to the next stage and next phase, where he has to face different challenges. Yaqub reluctantly agreed to allow his older sons to take Yusuf with them to the wild. Now this is clear. At some point during the day, the sons dropped Yusuf into a well as per their prearranged plan. They were bent upon carrying out this act. Iblis and Shaitan do not waver or slacken. So this is a very important point for us, that Iblis and Shaitan are not going to budge an inch. If they have a plan, and we see that around in the world in which we live, and we see this manifest around us in the world, in order to counter this, the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen needs to be far more firm and resolute. The Quran does not describe how Yusuf reacted to the actions of the brothers. However, from his dream, he knows that he is on the right path and that good will transpire for him in the end from the wrong actions of these brothers. So he had firm iman on his aim and on his goal. Yusuf also had the advantage of listening to his father about the Wahi which Yaqub possessed, and Yusuf had been educated about that. For example, this includes the law of requital and law of respite. So he was fully aware of it. And in that Wahi as well, Allah informed him that law of requital is working, and a day will come when you will confront with the deeds of these brothers of yours. Verse 12-15 states that Allah sent Wahi to Yusuf in order to strengthen his heart and to confirm to him that as per the law of requital, at some time in the future, he will confront these brothers of his with the consequences of their deeds. This is the period of respite for his brothers as per the law of requital. However, they are sure that they have succeeded with their perfect plan and are convinced of the righteousness of their cause. So contrary to that, his brothers think they have done it, they have got rid of him. Since we have the Quran, i.e. the complete Wahi of Allah, covering every aspect of our life, thus in our affairs of life, we can always obtain guidance from it whenever we need. We are already doing it. For example, this presentation is part of this process. So we are now going through this presentation and discussing Surah Yusuf in the light of Allah's book, that is the Quran. For example, in our efforts for the establishment of the system of Deen, we face challenges which we need to overcome by utilizing the firmness of our Iman as Yusuf did. Now, next verse says, brothers inform Yaqub about the death of Yusuf. وَجَاءَ أَبَاهُمْ إِشَاءً يَبْكُونَ قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا إِنَّا ذَهَبْنَا نَسْتَبِقُ وَتَرَكْنَا يُوسُفَ عِنْدَ مَتَاعِنَا فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ. Very interesting over here. They come back after dropping Yusuf into the well. They came weeping to their father late at night. Obviously, they delayed it to show some kind of a grief. And I said, oh, father, we went to the forest and made Yusuf sit with the deer, and we became engrossed in competing in races to see who wins. In the meantime, a wolf came and tore Yusuf to pieces and ate him up. And over here, Quran hasn't mentioned any remains, being left by wolf. Wolf couldn't have eaten everything up. We know that no matter how truthful we are, you will not believe what we say, but the incident occurred just as we have explained it to you. Now, from this verse, sons return home after dispatching Yusuf to his next stage of self-development. So this is the way I looked at it, that this is the next stage now for Yusuf. After doing an injustice to Yusuf, the sons returned home to cause grief to their father, whose favors they so earnestly desired. This point needs to be pondered, that in the deprived state of the selves of these sons, they wish to get his attention for themselves by taking his most favorite moment son away from him. We witness this around us in many families where a husband or wife, or even between parents and children, are both cause pain by putting down each other's parents and siblings, and at the same time tell each other how much they are in love. Now, this is I thought we should relate to it, and we do observe that in many families where they have problems with in-laws, and at the same time, husband and wife, they think that they love each other. And this is not going to go away, because law of requital does leave its impact. And if we have to holistically take the other individual into view and accept it as they are, and try to see that we are not causing any pain to others by putting down their parents or brothers or sisters or their contacts. This is cognitive dissonance, in which human beings do not rationally assess their behavior and get carried away by their emotions and base desires. Because Yusuf's brothers and Yaqub's sons did not think about it in their pursuit of their own base desire, that this is going to cause a lot of pain to their father. And what they are doing is doing wrong, because they are permanently, in their view, getting rid of Yusuf. And how much pain they are causing to their father, about whom they claim that to have his love or get his inclination towards them. This hampers the development of the self and prevents a higher understanding of the Quran. With these kind of acts, that is why people read these stories, this Surah Yusuf, and don't get into the bottom of it. They do not understand that what exactly Quran is trying to tell us and how to reform ourselves and improve the environment of our families and, of course, the countries or the world. So this is an important point on which we should concentrate and focus our attention. The potential for empathy is kept within us, but it is in a raw form and needs to be developed through a higher level of awareness of the self. Very important. Empathy doesn't come to us automatically. When Quran draws our attention towards yatim and miskin, then it wants us to develop this aspect of our emotive biases so that we understand the problems of other human beings and relate to them. If we follow our desires without taking into consideration their effects on our fellow men, then we suppress this potential. So if we are pursuing our desires, our base desires, for example, in this case, sons, then we are causing a lot of pain and hurt around us. The Quran invites us to develop this potential when it repeatedly draws our attention to keeping our wealth and possessions freely available for others. The issue of yatim and miskin mentioned in the Quran is linked to the seeking of Iman. And this is why Quran is linking it to the Iman. That if we can't see yatim and miskin in the world and cannot empathize with them, then forget about the iman of the Quran. This is not going to find its way into our heart and mind. The brothers of Yusuf created a living yatim and miskin and thus degraded themselves to a very low level of human existence. See, what brothers did is they have created a yatim and a miskin out of their own brother. And this is something to which Quran is drawing our attention. They were definitely not looking for guidance, and they will never get guidance. They cannot. If they are in that state of thinking and emotional makeup, then Allah's guidance will never come to them. And that is obvious in this story as well, that they did not benefit from the Wahi which Hazrat Yaqub had. Then they further exposed themselves by stating, "You will not believe in us." If they were truthful, they would not have said this. And if they wished to hide their true motive of getting rid of Yusuf, even then they would not need to say this. Because they were in a position of power, they did not care whether their father believed them or not. So they were very callous and cruel individuals who resorted to this extreme measure. In this respect, there is an important point for education and training under the system of Deen for children. So I feel this is the way we should teach our children about this story, so that the best comes out of their own emotive makeup. Yaqub does not accept evidence and the word of his sons, and he seeks Allah's help. Brilliant aspect over here, which what Wahi does and how it guides us, our individuals. And this is where we need to seek Quran's help. وَجَاءَ عَلَىٰ قَمِيصِهِ بِدَامٍ كَاذِبٍ قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا فَاصْبِرْ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَىٰ مَا تَصِفُونَ. Now what they had done was, and they had also brought with them the tunic of Yusuf, which they had stained with fake blood. So what they did was they soaked it probably in some sheep's blood, and brought it home, and they showed it to their father that this is what happened. And of course, Yusuf must be without that shirt. After hearing this story and seeing the shirt, the father said that a wolf has definitely not eaten Yusuf. Now he was the messenger of Allah, and he knew that Allah will never leave his moment alone. And that is where the iman comes in. This is all just a tale hatched by you with your deceptive selves have made alluring to you, that this plot will be very successful. In any case, it is better for me that I make use of patience and courage, not let the unity of the family become fragmented, and seek Allah's help in whatever you are describing. So now a bigger challenge came before him, something which he was fearing, and he did not want to create further disunity within the family. In any case, he was stuck with those sons. He couldn't do anything with them. So he had to now make peace with them. So he kept quiet. Yaqub had the knowledge of Wahi, and he applied to the situation which emerged before him. Now, these are some of the points which I picked up, and we can always add more through our own deeper reflection. Yaqub had no difficulty in assessing the events of that day, and straightway told his sons that you have concocted this tale. However, being the head of the household, he faced a serious crisis, either to complicate matters by accusing and confronting his sons, or to resort to sabr and not react. He had firm iman in Allah that Yusuf will not go wasted. I will repeat it. He had firm iman in Allah that Yusuf will not go wasted. And this is applicable to all of us who are on this path. His dream and conduct was in front of him. Being an accomplished moment, he sought Allah's help, i.e. recalled the relevant part of Wahi and saw the possibility of eminence for Yusuf, as he had already discussed with him after his dream. He could foresee the possibility of meeting with Yusuf again at some point in the future. However, he did not know the timeline. Being a father and a moment, losing a moment's son was not easy for him. And we can relate to him that what was happening in that situation. He was still a human being with all the natural affection for his son, and he knew the separation from Yusuf is not going to be easy. And this comes out in the story as we go forward. His older sons never cared for his parental love, even though they desired to divert his attention from Yusuf due to jealousy, and were only concerned about their own desires and needs. Seeking help from Allah is made clear here. There is one point over here in relation to the previous point, that it should not create any dislike or hatred or those feelings within us. For us, this story is as if playing in front of our eyes right today. The reason is that this is happening all around us. In a man-made system, this happens in every other family, and people have problems. And even in mutual relationship, what is going on in the world, this thing is fairly common. So instead of creating any disliking for the sons or not being comfortable with the situation, we need to look at the lesson and the moral for us as of today. Seeking help from Allah is made clear here. Remain steadfast. Think clearly based on evidence that Allah will never leave his mu'mineen alone. Keep making efforts in life and concentrate on the work in which one is engaged in to earn a living. Never give up hope, as it is Iblis who becomes hopeless. No need to share on grief with those who do not have empathy and sympathy. This thing also comes out very clearly that Yaqub did not share his own anxiety, his own inner unhappiness with his sons. Towards the end of the story, he does mention that you should go back and look for Yusuf and his brother. Allah's mu'mineen never express any weakness or fears to non-Quranic people. Very important, this point. Allah's mu'mineen never express any weakness or fears to non-Quranic people. Never. They only share it with mu'mineen. I thought this is important because why should I show my weakness to someone who doesn't have any interest in the Quran? Strengthen ourselves on this path, and we should remain mindful of it. Life situation report around the time Yusuf is dropped into the well, the account continues at 3 levels. What I've done over here is I've drawn a schematic to see that now the story is going on at 3 levels. The timeline of these events, the law of requital and the law of respite in full action, and it is busy now producing effects. At the bottom level, that is the first level, is Yaqub's sons, what they have done to Yusuf, but are concealing it and telling him he is no more in this world and he's dead. So as far as Yaqub's sons are concerned, or brothers of Yusuf are concerned, they have got rid of him. That's it. They will get on with their life as if nothing happened. For Yusuf's brothers, life goes on as normal, no sense of guilt, rather a sense of achievement and elation that they have got what they always wanted. Yaqub goes quiet, which means the sons think that he has accepted their version of the story. Now, the next stage is this is the first level on which the story is going. So they forgot about it. That is why when they met him again, they never thought it is Yusuf. Yaqub is faced with the disappearance of his mu'min son. For him was a great pain. Allah knows what has happened to Yusuf, but no Wahi sent to Yaqub regarding this. No Wahi was sent to Yaqub regarding this, that your son is alive, don't worry. And this is very interesting. So he has to figure it out in the light of the Wahi which he already had. Yaqub outwardly calm, ensuring integrity and unity of the family, not creating any fuss and giving time to the law of requital to do its job. Continuously keeping Allah before him and seeking his support. Years pass but never gives up hope, as he has assurance from Wahi, that is, he has the Iman in unseen. So there is a great lesson for us in this part. Now the next stage is Allah is witness over all events. As we know, Allah said that Huwa ma'akum aina ma kuntum. Yusuf is now in the hands of caravan people, but Yaqub's sons do not know this and are not interested to know this. Yusuf, being mu'min with complete trust based on Iman in Allah, his laws, is now going through the second phase of achieving his dream and aim. He is in the process of being handed over to the next phase. Now, this is where the next issue comes before us. Beginning of the next phase of Yusuf's life, and he is presented with a new challenge. وَجَاءَتْ سِيَارَةٌ فَأَرْسَلُوا وَارِدَاهُمْ فَأَدْلَى دَلْوَاهُ قَالَ يَا بُشْرَى هَذَا غُلَامٌ وَأَسَرُّهُ بِذَاتًا وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ. So as he was put down or dropped into the well, now a caravan, because the well was on a caravan's route, and this is what brothers of Yusuf wanted. What happened there was that a caravan came into the forest and they sent their vanguard person in search of water. So this happens in the movement of caravans. Even in the army, they send some vanguards ahead who establish the camp and find out the suitable places. He reached this well and dropped a bucket into it. From deep in the well, Yusuf called out. He glanced into the well and saw that there was a youth there. So he put his bucket into it to get water, to see if there was water at the bottom of the well. So there was Yusuf in the well. he called to the other people from the caravan and said, listen to some good news. Because slavery was quite common in those days, so they were very pleased that they have got a youth and paid nothing, and now they are going to make some money out of it. A youth has been found in the well. They took him and hid him so that they could sell him in some far-off place. They did all this away from the prying eyes of people, but Allah was indeed witnessing everything. So it looks this caravan was going from Canaan towards Egypt as the story develops further. Now, verse 12-20, Yusuf as a human being possessing choice and intent for which universe is created is disposed for few coins. Now, we should keep it in mind that Yusuf also had a choice and intent, just like every other human being. And when Quran says, "Laqad karamna bani Adama," if we keep that in mind, then we know what is going on in this story. And that increases the gravity of the situation in our intellect. We can then see that what is the situation which is developing in front of our eyes now. وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ دَرَاهِمَ مَعْدُودَةٍ وَكَانُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الزَّاهِدِينَ. The people of the caravan sold Yusuf. So now it is up to us to make it out that it must have taken them a few weeks to travel from Canaan to Egypt, because there's the whole of desert of Sinai between it. In the Egyptian marketplace with injustice and inhumanity for a paltry price, which was not more than a few dirhams. So they got some money out of that. They behaved in a detached manner in his sale. They were not treating him like a human being. Of course, on the way, they would have served him with some food and may have given him some clothing as well. But they were detached. They were not compassionate or were attached towards him as a human being, because they knew, they might have even heard his story, but they were not concerned about it. Their own desire was right in front of them. One, because they had acquired this commodity free of cost, and two, they may also have thought that if someone came forward to claim him, then there will be a problem. So all this we have to imagine and think about it and relate it to the situation as of today, that what goes on in terms of devaluing human beings, this situation is right in front of us. We have seen people, how they treat their servants, for example. The state in which Yusuf finds himself and learns more about the world and human psyche. Now, here is Yusuf, who's come out of a fairly protected environment, though not a very happy environment, and now he is in a process of being sold. First, he's dropped into the well, and now he's being sold. So just imagine that what sort of a self he is now developing and experiencing the whole events which are unfolding in front of him, and he is the central part of those events. Coming out from a family environment, Yusuf is now exposed to the rules of a commercial caravan, which also deals with human beings as commodities for selling and buying. He spends many days and nights in their company. They may have inquired from him about his background, or perhaps not. It does not appear that Yusuf is interested to return to his family with unjust brothers around who wish to kill him. So Quran is silent on that. But Quran does say that those caravan people did not consider him as a full human being as they themselves were. The Quran sums up the plight of Yusuf and the state of human world with this glimpse in which a human being is treated as a commercial, non-thinking commodity which can be sold and bought as a slave. The people of the caravan sold him for a small price to get rid of him quickly, as he can cause problem in case some claimant may appear. This is the condition of the human psyche when it does something wrong and wishes to hide it. And the third point I have noted is the Quran has used the word az-zahidin, which essentially means, we should look at the root of this, which essentially means that they were detached from him as a human being. Less, some might have had an idea that we should be kind to him and maybe not sell him, but of course the majority in such situations is the one who makes the decisions, just as in the case of brothers of Yusuf. The caravan folk were not interested in him as a human being. He was a mere commodity to them. They were more interested in getting whatever price they could and move off. The world around us is not any different. The Quran has summed it up in a few verses, and we will see it in the next slide. Allah's verdict on the system created by human intellect without the light of Wahi, and this is the non-Quranic world. These are the verses I've taken from Surah Mutaffifin, chapter 83, وَيْلٌ لِّلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَقْتَلُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا قَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. The ultimate end of a business mentality and the capitalist system can be nothing other than destruction and annihilation. The demand of such a mentality is this: to extract fully what is due from others, but when the time comes to pay back to them, to then tilt the balance in one's own favor. So under a capitalist system or man-made system is get maximum benefit and give minimum to others. And we see it all around us. And this is called business. That if somebody has made extra profit out of the ignorance of someone or somehow hoodwinked him, then he is a successful person. To get full work from others, but to never pay them fully what is due to them. To give the minimum to those who work hard and to earn the maximum for one's own self. To have this outlook not only in the case of commodities, but even when appraising the value of human beings, and to attempt that their potentials and abilities remain suppressed, squeezed, and hampered. And we see it particularly if we go to some families, influential families, where they have employed servants. And if we look at those servants, they are human beings like each one of us, and see how they treat them, and they never consider them as full-fledged human beings who have a full cognitive abilities. That they should never ever have the opportunity to allow these to grow and flourish, and to only allow them to flourish to that degree which is profitable for the investing capitalist. So they don't want ordinary children from even labor class or middle class to rise to their level. The whole thing is to suppress them. And in fact, the most powerful countries, they use all types of ploys to keep countries who are underdeveloped to stay poor. That they should simply never ever be given any freedom exceeding this. So there is a lot in this story of the Yusuf which we need to concentrate at an individual level, because each one of us is an individual and we should relate it to him. That what he's going through, and can we understand why is he going through and what sort of a thought process he is developing as he is going through this life of his. For example, if on a scale of 0 to 10, Allah wishes humans to have freedom equal to 10, and the man-made system attempts to give them freedom equivalent to, for example, I think I'm a bit generous. I said, let's see that the man-made system wants to give them a freedom of 1.5, then this is gross injustice and not fulfilling the purpose of human creation. Because Allah wants them to have freedom of, no, Allah wants them to have a freedom of to the level of 10, let's say. And we give them 1.5, then the system is taking away 8.5, which they deserve as human beings. And while I want, as the person who is at the top, that I want a freedom of 10, but I want others to have a freedom of 1.5. See how much gross injustice exists around us. What is human value as a human being for majority in 2022? So what I've done over here is I've drawn some photographs taken from Google, and these are the big corporations, and then these are the banks, and this represents the banks across the world, and of course in the richer countries. Oil as a resource plus business, and we have seen how many people's lives have been destroyed because of this. And then farmers in the world. The pharmaceutical industry has come out as a bigger giant in today's environment of COVID-19. And these are some of the guys who own, they are just human beings like Yusuf, like you and me, but they own far, far more than their own needs. And these interact with whom? This is the bastion of power. This is another bastion of power in the world. This is another one, and this is another one. So what I've done is I've taken four most powerful, power bases in the world. And we can relate to it. Every country has its own. And then these are the labor class over here. This is somewhere in the beginning of probably 20th century or maybe in 19th century. And then this lady is asking for rights. And these are also asking for rights. And of course, they don't have any rights. They just are born. And this is what they keep doing all their life. Children coming into the world as of today, 99% will serve the interests of the corporations and rich and powerful. This includes our children and grandchildren. We should look at this reality very carefully and see that are we free on that scale of 0 to 10, or how much of our freedom is taken away? If we wish to break this cycle, then Allah offers us an alternative via the Quran. So this is how we should look at this Surah Yusuf, and not move away thinking that this is an account of some individual back in 7th century BC. And over here, what you see is that these those who acquire power, they mostly interact with these guys at the top. They serve their interests. And these guys at the bottom, which is the majority in the world, they serve as slaves. And of course, to keep them quiet, they will give them some crumbs. We have received complete Wahi, i.e. the Quran, and we need to be foremost as noted here. Summa awrasna al-kitab allazina astafana min ibadina faminhum zalimun li nafsihi wa minhum muqtasidun wa minhum sabiqun bil khairati bi'iznillah zalika huwal fazlul kabir. So I thought towards the end to quote this verse and share it with you. All that was important and necessary for the guidance of mankind has been revealed and preserved in the Quran. Hence the process of Wahi will be terminated. After this, what will need to be done is only this, that the human society is to be shaped according to this teaching. For this purpose, a Jamaat and Ummah will be required. This Ummah has been defined and the book has been entrusted to it. So we got this book now, and it is up to us how to deal with it. And these efforts which we are making is really to bring out the best with a view to apply it in the world in which we live. But the condition of this Ummah will be such that some among them will advance forward by acting upon the Quran. Some will follow the middle course, and some will even be such that by abandoning it, they will commit zulm to themselves. Those that advance will deserve lofty ranks for the Kabir. So those who are at the foremost, and we are trying to be at the foremost, Allama Parvez did all the work, all the foundational work for us. And now we are trying to improve or increase our understanding, or we are developing our intellect to grasp the realities of the Quran right to the finest details, because Allah is Latiful Khabir and we are also going to be Latiful Khabir. Allah has handed over his Wahi al-Kitab, the Quran, to us. It is up to us to belong to either of these three categories. And choice is ours, and none of us is coming back to this worldly life. So if we don't do our best, then we should remember that we are not coming back to this life. Once we die, that's the end of it. The gate is going to be closed as far as this life is concerned. We are on a one-way ticket to the life of the hereafter. Yusuf was very clear about this path, as we will see towards the end of this surah. So with that note, we come to the end of this presentation. Thanks for your time and for sharing this presentation.